I mean, I remember most times growing up, when someone would ask something of me, I automatically said no, because it was the safest thing to say. Even if I figured out 30 seconds later, I should have said yes because I really do want it. But I didn't have the time to process it. So
Yes.
I just automatically say no.
Hi, I'm Staci Neustadt. I am a speech language pathologist and the CEO at Making Sense of Autism, and I'm a student of Susan.
And I'm Susan Golubock. I am a now retired occupational therapist who has worked many, many years after I discovered even my own autism with other autistic individuals. I founded Making Sense of Autism because of my passion to not only understand my brain and how it worked differently, but to try to explain what I've learned to other people so that they're more understanding and therefore more accepting and more accommodating to autistic individuals.
So, our goal is to help you provide the right support without trying to fix autism, but by understanding it. So, whether you're a parent, teacher, therapist, or just someone who wants to learn, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join us every week. We talk about a new topic. Thanks so much for joining us today. This week, Susan and I want to talk about unready state. So, in our soft skills assessment, we have people identify skills that the individual is not demonstrated. They're unready for. It's not in their zone of development at the time. Or we've also talked about how it might not be an unready skill, but in that moment, they might just not be ready. And I know this looks like behavior. Sometimes behavior looks like refusal, avoidance, or just chaos. But it's more like when you turn the TV on, the screen is black and the show just isn't ready to play yet. They're not ready to access the information, or maybe it's too hard to access the information. And so they're needing more support. So, Sue, from the autistic perspective, what does it actually feel like when your brain isn't ready to show everyone else what they're expecting from you?
The hardest part, and people expect you should be able to read their mind as to what they are wanting or expecting from you. Um, and if they don't present it in the way that I am familiar with, that this is how you asked me before to do this, now you're saying the same thing basically, or at least you think you're saying it, but in using different words that I'm not familiar with. It's like, huh? Is this the same as that? I don't know. And now I'm in a quandary because I can't pull up which one. My mind is going in all these directions about, is she talking about this, that, what? And so I hesitate. And then, of course, you can tell the other person is expecting something because they often repeat themselves. Oh, now I have to stop and listen to what you just said and see, is it exactly the same or is it different? So now you've put me in a frozen state of not knowing what to do, what to say. Um, and now I'm feeling emotionally anxious and panicky because if I don't do something, now you're going to get angry with me because by the third time you say it, I can tell by the tone of your voice, you're getting upset with me. And now what do I do now? Because now you're going to get upset. I better get out of here. I just better run,
Mhm.
get away. Um, um, or a lot of times when people, I mean, I remember most times growing up, when someone would ask something of me, I automatically said no, because it was the safest thing to say. Even if I figured out 30 seconds later, I should have said yes because I really do want it. But I didn't have the time to process it. So
Yes.
I just automatically say, no,
I see that
that's
in a
not
lot of the kids
being
I work with.
ready to be able to give an answer and not being given enough time to process it before I see you getting upset because I'm not responding, or at least not responding in the way you expect me to.
Mhm.
Um, and what if yesterday I was in the mood for and I felt up to, let's go to the park. Okay. But today I just don't have the physical energy.
Yeah.
So today I'm going to respond differently. And I'm going to say no, or I don't have the energy to even discuss it.
And I see that in
Understanding.
therapy frequently. One day the kiddo is excited and engaged in activities, and then the next day I arrive and either they say no, or the other day I had one of my clients came home from school and he didn't want to get out of the car. And I explained to the parents, I said, I know that you are like, oh no, Stacy's here to do therapy. We have to make him do it. I explained to them, I said, please don't, because then I'm going to be that negative person. I'm going to be that work that he has to do. And I don't want to be that. I want to be that person that's here to help and support and have fun through learning. And so we talked about, let's just go ask him, are you ready? And he wasn't. And so we just said, okay, when you're ready. And sure enough, some kids, yeah, we have to maybe set a timer. But sure enough, he didn't need anything. He just needed space and respect that he wasn't ready in that moment. And like 3 minutes later, he got out of the car, he came in, but he was still pretty dysregulated. And he's like, no, no. But he also had a thing on his mind of a toy he wanted to find. And so that's actually what we were able to work on. It was the language, because he's a gestalt language processor, and his way of expressing what he was on his mind, not therapy, what was on his mind was Zoom. And it was actually a Paw Patrol card that he was looking for. But of course, that took a lot of guessing. And so then a lot of bombardment of what that language was that he was trying to find. And I talked to the parents like, this is more powerful than what you might have seen in other traditional therapies of sit down and comply and do what I say. This is more powerful because he's learning the language he wants to learn. He wanted to learn Paw Patrol, right? Like,
Yeah, and you're not teaching them to advocate. When you are standing there and demanding or expecting a
yeah,
response from them and they're not giving it, it means they don't know what to either. I don't know how to make what my father would say, smile for the camera. Well, my first thought was, smile. What am I? Well, I don't know how to do that. How do I had to practice for hours in front of the mirror to practice what the, so that motor planning issue of how do I do what they're asking me to do? And I'm my mind's so busy trying to figure out how to do or what words you want to hear from me. Um, that and then you're not giving me the time or helping me by maybe guessing. Are you trying to tell me by your silence that you need more time to think? Yeah.
yeah.
Are you telling me by your inaction that you're not quite sure how to do what I'm asking? I mean, man, if you put, I can recognize when you give me the words now, the next time that happens, I'm going to say, I'm not ready. I don't know how to do that. But you haven't given me the words and permission to use those words.
Right. Because we just assume that they're being defiant or they're choosing not to, which when parents or teachers or therapists, when they even have that bias and, like you said, that tone, those body gestures, what does that do to the autistic person when they see or hear that person getting so frustrated? What does that do?
I know, which is probably why my aunt who lived with us when I was growing up said, yeah, you didn't say much, you didn't do much, you were just there. Well, I saw, and my grandmother would always say, wipe that frown off your face, it's going to become permanent. Well, I was communicating I am so lost and confused. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. But of course, nobody ever gave me any help or support in knowing how to respond to a world I found overwhelming and confusing, and I didn't understand. I just wasn't ready.
And I think even that unready goes into a bigger umbrella unready of what skills. I know as we talked a little bit last week about social communication, but I've also seen this with other skills that maybe as parents we're thinking they're this age so they should be doing this, or as therapists, they're what should be happening based on development, but we know that autistics develop kind of in a different trajectory. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, they learn all the skills, but maybe kind of in a different pattern. And what would you say is the biggest indicator that this umbrella skill, they're not ready for it yet? I know for me, I'm thinking it's when we have those goals that we regurgitate over and over again. Like to me, that's a red flag of like, they're not ready for this yet, either in the way we're presenting it or they're unready, which also goes with like they're not motivated because they're not ready for this skill yet. But what should we be looking for in terms of that unready umbrella skill?
Well, this is where you can teach something to an individual, and then you wonder, well, why don't they apply it? I know I've told you this, we've worked on it. I know you can do it. But the problem is if you didn't teach it in the context in which it needs to be used, we can't pull it. We think, okay, we do it when you cue us to do it, when you tell us what to do. Oh, yeah, no problem. We can do it. And this is why they wonder why autistics don't generalize what they do learn. And then you say they never use that skill. I know they have it, but they don't use it because you're not teaching it in the context in which it needs to be used, which is why it's essential. You don't sit down and teach them at a table in a chair
How to
skill.
socialize, right? Like that's not a sitting in a chair
That's
at
not
a
the
table.
situation that would trigger them to use it.
Yeah.
So in the situation where I would use it, it's the last thing from my mind to bring up as to, oh yeah, I remember she taught me this and I should use it in this situation. Oh no, I don't even make that connection.
Yes.
So it's a matter of that a skill that may be learned. Now, if you've never taught them the skill, well, then of course they're not going to respond. But a lot of it is skills that you've taught them
Yeah.
that they don't use. And the
Yeah.
reason is because you taught it in isolation and not in context.
That makes me think of a client that my speech assistant has who is a gestalt language processor, high support needs, but she's been working on problem solving and following steps to cooking because he's motivated by food. And the other day, mom shared that maybe this is about a month ago, he went in the fridge, got a piece of pizza, put it on a plate, put it in the microwave, warmed it up, and then sat down and ate it. Where before they worked on those cooking skills and all those steps, he would have just grabbed the piece of pizza and started eating it out of the fridge because he didn't, necessarily see or know how to do that step of cooking. And then just even more recently, again, motivation was learning about Charge the iPad when it died, and they worked on Charge and that vocabulary. Well, even working on that vocabulary and that whole idea, he now is in a routine where he takes the iPad and charges it in a room close to his room every night, so that it's charged for him the next day. No one taught him that. They taught him Charge. They taught him, look, this is what happens. But he generalized the skill of, oh, I'm motivated. I want this to stay charged tomorrow. So I'm going to charge it tonight. And so every night he does that now. Um, but if we wouldn't have one tapped into motivation, two taught him what to do, how to do it, where to do it, when to do it, he wouldn't have learned those skills. And those are those skills we're talking about. Like he was so ready for it. He was motivated by it. He was ready. We were teaching him in the way that he learns. Um, and so this, all of this is exactly what we're going to be unpacking, not only in our workshop on January 26th, at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. We are going to be talking about, what are the missing signals or what are those things that maybe you're not seeing in terms of how the individual wants to be supported. So this workshop is 1 hour. It'll include questions that you can ask of Sue, and it's for parents and professionals. We're kind of opening it to everyone because it's a great opportunity not only to hear about more information like this, but also to ask questions. And oftentimes when you do these workshops, we hear the same question over and over. So even if you don't have that question, maybe you're like, oh, I didn't even think of answering that or asking that. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And then next month, we're excited to relaunch our neuro strength-based assessment course, which assesses these skills, the stressors, and supports profile. That is a document with lots of questions that as professionals you can ask parents and learn more about where is the individual, what do they want to learn, and then also the soft skills assessment, which is an assessment that again teaches you what strengths, potential strengths, barriers, and triggers, and unready skills, those soft skills the individual is developing or maybe still needs to develop, like self-awareness, functional communication, executive functioning skills, all those pieces that may be impacting your goals or maybe impacting the skills the individual is wanting to learn. So two great things to kick off the year, our first workshop, and the next month will be our assessment course. So keep an eye out for those emails and sign up lists because they will be limited. We like to keep them small since we do include Q&As, and we like an intimate community where we can all kind of support each other and collaborate with each other. Because I know when I have the answers and I have a plan and a path, my sessions go more smoothly. I'm more regulated. When I don't know what to do in a moment, that is when kids probably hear me and see me be more frustrated, not at them, but like with myself. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I still have those moments sometimes. They're less and less for sure because I have a lot more tools in my toolbox, but we want that for you as parents and professionals as well to not feel frustrated, not feel overwhelmed, to have more tools, to have more strategies. And so that's what we'll be teaching all year. So great conversation today, Sue. Thank you for sharing what Unready looks like and how we can just provide the supports they're asking for or stop pushing, stop with the expectation, and provide what they need. So thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Stacy.